stand-up comedy, so, forgive me when I seem nervous. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Cassie Dodd. I have been attending conventions ever since I was 16 years old, and actually, strangely enough, I did the math, and this is my 16th convention attended. And, let's see what else. Oh, and basically, this summer I actually got the chance to go to Japan, which I know for all of us is basically the Holy Land, basically, That's where anime has come from, that's, where everything is from, Japan. And I got to go there, and I'm not bragging, because actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a few pointers for anyone who actually is interested in going to Japan. And the first thing is that, I know there's a lot of books out there that, this is what you might want if you go and travel to Japan. Here are wonderful places to check out if you go to Japan. But I've never really seen one for otakus, really. I mean, they always just seem for normies. Yes, I call them that. And, there's none that really says, listen, it's not like an anime, check this one out, check this one out. You've seen an anime, check this one out. There's really no book like that. So I figured one day I'll make my own, and if I do, hopefully I'll get enough money to go back. But I got to experience going to Japan, by staying in a hotel as well as going to homestay, which was pretty fun. And the first thing I have to say is, before you go to Japan, be prepared. This involves, basically, research what's appropriate and inappropriate there. Because there's actually, an art to bowing. How you always see people, where they're like, no, there's different ways of bowing. For instance, girls, we cross our hands. And guys, you do, this, module, And also, I mean, there actually is a science as how low you should bow. Because, and also, this is related, never try to outbow any Japanese person you encounter. We had one girl in our group who was like, I've made this challenge, I will outbow every Japanese person. And then, by the end of the trip, ha! I win! Basically just something like that's actually pretty good. And they actually don't expect you to really bow, they're really kind of surprised when foreigners do that. They're like, you don't have to, this is strange. As you can tell, my accents are horrible. And in addition, I mean, there's also other behaviors that they, have that are appropriate. There's gestures. For instance, come over here, something like, would you really think this is come over here? The first time, my host mother tried to do that, I was like, are you shooing me? I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't mean to offend you. And she's like, no, you come over here now, you come over here. Yes, you can tell my accents are horrible. And then, I can't really do this one, I actually asked, and so, imagine I don't have my index finger up. Some people point like this, The first time actually it was my host father did that, he was kind of pointing something behind me, but all I see is a middle finger is extended my way, and I go. And then the wife was like, oh no, he wants you to look over there, because she'd been to Seattle, she knew kind of what I was thinking, so I was like, do I flash and hit back or something? So yes, they actually will point there, and actually, other behaviors you wouldn't guess are inappropriate can be inappropriate there. For instance, yawning. That typically means I'm bored with something. So I became this kind of ninja and trying to go and hide when I was yawning. I'd be like, or I always think I had a stroke or something. I actually learned how to yawn with my mouth closed, but they're sitting there, you okay? Daijoubu desu ka? Hontoni? Trying to make sure I'm okay. And also, as a little thing in being prepared for going to Japan, watching a lot of anime does not count as being prepared. Anime is not going to help when you're talking to a Japanese businessman and he goes, basically he's sitting there going, Eigo wakarimasen, Eigo wakarimasen, which is, I do not understand English. And you're sitting there, crud, how do I remember how to say, I want to go here? How do I remember this? And that's also factoring into this. I'm not saying take Japanese classes. I mean, it's very helpful if you ever plan on going to Japan. And it's also fun to learn a foreign language. But I'm not going to be like, you must take Japanese. This is non-negotiable. You will take it and you will go to Japan and you will love it. No, I learned one of my best tools when I went there was a little, about the size Japanese phrase book that covered everything from, where's the kabuki to, my heart is falling out of my chest! I'm trying to go fast here because I only get 25 minutes here. And so once you're in Japan, I mean, if someone suggests you check out something, check it out. Because, I mean, especially if they've lived around there, they know what they're talking about. Oh, I got to go to some of the coolest temples and shrines. And I even got to go to hot springs. And even though I wouldn't say you should watch anime to be prepared, you know all those scenes in animes where like they're at a hot springs or they do various activities over in Japan? I swear to God, it is just like that. I went to a hot springs and I'm like, this is so cool, this is so cool. And we went outside, there's an outdoor bath. And also the thing is with hot springs, yes, you're naked, so just get over it. You're at a hot springs, it's cool. And it was just so cool. And we got to go to Byodoin Temple, which is a very beautiful temple. This also ties in the fact that not every place in Japan is for photos. For instance, people will kind of give you a death glare if you start taking pictures of them at a shrine. Shrines are basically where they're praying and making wishes and hoping. It's kind of like a church for us in a way. In a way, because it's not really. But like, it's still sacred. You typically have to ask and just learn gestures, I'd say, for this. Because gestures can help you out. I learned that if I wanted to do a picture, I just point at my camera and go, "Onegai! Onegai!" which is basically please. And they, I guess, buy into the fact that I'm panicked and go, "Daijoubu. Okay, crazy American, you go do whatever you want." And then also, tying into this, there's manga and anime everywhere. And when I first was getting ready to go to Japan, everyone's like, "You're gonna lose an arm and a leg there. You want food? There's one of your fingers." I basically was expecting to spend way more money than I thought I was on food. And even when you're by yourself, hotels will offer like complimentary breakfasts. And what we call complimentary in the US is BS. They will feed you. You will eat whether you like it or not. And it's not even like regular food. You will eat weirdest stuff ever. And anyway, especially with your host families will make sure your gut is near busting. With my first host family, who is my favorite, they were just so awesome. They actually had a dinner one night that was really formal because they were pulling in a lot of the grandmother's family. And so they're making up these formal dishes, and one of them was this fish dish. And I came in, we're kind of late into the dinner because I'd been attending a college there for a little bit. It was part of the trip. And they've got this fish, it's splayed out, it's been cut up, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna eat fish. I like fish. Oh, and by the way, Japan has almost nothing but fish. Get used to eating fish. But it's good fish. But anyway, so I'm talking with, the family later, and I'm sitting at the dinner table, and the grandma's serving me this plate, because basically, I got to be the guest of honor, which was really cool. And she puts this plate in front of me, and I don't think anything of it, it just seems to be cut up fish until I realize the head and the tail are moving. Essentially, there's this way of preparing fish where they use electrodes to keep the fish moving even after it's been cut up, and is now splayed on your plate. This turned from me being, yay, fish, to, oh God, I'm sorry, Mr. Fish, and they're looking at you oh, try it, it's very good, it's very good. I'm like, I've got my chopsticks. Oh, and by the way, learn how to use chopsticks before you go to Japan. They will kind of correct you. So I'm like, she does! Which is basically, it's delicious, and it was, but I'm sitting there thinking, I am so sorry, Mr. Fish, because it's in the